Well, good afternoon and thank you for tuning into Parliament Television. Today, Thursday, the 12th of February 2026, and we're here to give you votes and proceedings. That's the business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday, Wednesday, the 11th of February 2026. And of course, we will give you an update on the business that we expect the House to consider this afternoon. On live commentary, my name is Taza Piri.
Good afternoon. My name is Matimba Mkwa on Sign Language. We are joined by Chola Kauma and Jason Manda. We go straight and look at business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday, Wednesday, 11th February 2026.
Yes, indeed. And when business commenced yesterday, Madam First Deputy Speaker did make some announcements. In the first announcement, Madam First Deputy Speaker acquainted the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of the following members of staff from the Parliament of Malawi: Mr. Newton Mazeka Banda, Chief Librarian; Ms. Grace Temwa Bongololo, Principal Research Officer. Madam First Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the distinguished guests to the National Assembly.
In the second announcement, Madam First Deputy Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from the following schools: Woodford School in Lusaka District, Masawo Trust School Limited in Lusaka District. Madam First Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
Thereafter, the House went on to consider the Disaster Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2026, a bill seeking to amend the Disaster Management Act so as to integrate risk management in the prevention of mitigation of a disaster preparedness and response to a disaster and post-management of a disaster, and rename the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit as the National Disaster Risk Management Division, and redefine its functions, among others. Her Honor, the Vice President, presented the bill, and the bill was read the first time and referred to the Committee on Cabinet Affairs for consideration and to report back to the House in due course.
After that, the House considered questions for oral answer numbers 164 and 165 under Standing Order 82. The House considered questions for oral answer numbers 166 to 171 under Standing Order 80, and a question for oral answer number 172 under Standing Order 80. The member being absent, the question lapsed.
After the consideration of questions for oral answer under Standing Order 80, the House proceeded to consider a private member's motion titled Introduce a National Heritage and Cultural Week. This motion was moved by Mr. Sunday Chanda, who is Kanchibia Member of Parliament, that this House urges the government to introduce a National Heritage and Cultural Week. And the motion was seconded by Nalolo Member of Parliament, Mr. Imanga Wamnima, and this motion was resolved, meaning the motion was adopted.
After that private member's motion, the House went on to consider the Teaching Profession Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2025, which was read the third time and it passed.
And thereafter, there was notice of subject for debate on the motion of adjournment that the government should address the deplorable states of roads in Kitwe District. This subject was brought by Mr. Christopher Kangombe, Kamfinsa Member of Parliament, and the 30 minutes allocated for the subject for debate on the motion of adjournment having lapsed, Mr. Second Deputy Speaker interrupted the proceedings and the subject for debate lapsed. So that's the business that the House considered yesterday. The House did adjourn accordingly at 17:46 hours. Just now, we shift our attention to today's order paper. That's the business we expect the House to consider this afternoon.
Yes, Taza, today, Thursday, 12 February 2026, we expect announcements if there will be any urgent matters without notice. If there will be any, we have a ministerial statement, and we expect the House to consider 7 questions for oral answer under Standing Order 80, and 2 bills that are coming at second reading. The first one is the National Payment System Bill, National Assembly Bill number 32 of 2025, and the State-Owned Enterprises Bill, National Assembly Bill number 37 of 2025.
Yes, indeed. We now get into the other details of the order paper. We do expect the Minister of Tourism to render a ministerial statement, and that's on the performance of the tourism sector for the period 2021 to 2025.
The first question, Understanding Order 80, this is question 173, will come from Milengi, Member of Parliament, Mr. Chonde. He will direct his question to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. He wants to find out a question in two parts. When construction of the Mulumbi Bridge across the Luela River in Milenge District will commence. In part B, he wants to find out what the cause of the delay in commencing the works is.
Question 174 is expected to be asked by Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa, Chinsali Member of Parliament, and this question will be directed to the Minister of Information and Media. He wants to know in part A, how many Zambian News and Information Services ZANIS officers there are in Chinsali District and Muchinga Province. In part B, whether the number of officers in Chinsali District and Muchinga Province are adequate. And in part C, if not, when the government will recruit additional staff to meet the shortfall. And in part D, when the government last provided equipment to the ZANIS office in Chinsali District. And in E, when new equipment will be provided.
The next question, this is question 175, will come from Kamfinsa, Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Kangombe. He will direct his question to the Minister of Finance and National Planning. He wants to find out a question in three parts. In part A, how much of the following debt the government contracted from January 2022 to August 2025 year by year. The first one is domestic and the second one is foreign. In part B, the Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa wants to find out what the outstanding debt above was as of September 2025. And in part C, he wants to find out what measures have been taken to settle the debt.
And we do expect Ms. Chrysosta Halwindi, Kabwe Central Member of Parliament, to ask question 176 to the Minister of Transport and Logistics. She wants to know in A, whether the government will be receiving a portion of annual revenue generated by the Tanzania-Zambia Railway Authority TAZARA following the signing of the TAZARA Revitalization Concession Agreement in September 2025 with the China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation. In part B, if so, what the percentage of the revenue is. In part C, when the government would start receiving the revenue. And in part D, whether the percentage of the revenue received will be reinvested in TAZARA. And lastly, in part E, if so, what percentage will be reinvested?
Question 177 is expected to come from Chinsali, Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa. He will direct his question to the Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts. He wants to find out in part A whether the government has any plans to construct a sports complex in Chinsali District. In part B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. In part C, what the estimated cost of the project is. And in part D, if there are no such plans, why?
Mr. Francis Kapianga, Speaker, Member of Parliament, will ask question 178 to the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation. He wants to know in A, whether the government has any plans to construct small piped water schemes in the following areas in Mpika Parliamentary Constituency: Sekela in Lurambala Ward, Chilonga Market, Mpanda Fishiala, Kasenga, and Mulongesha in Nachikutu Ward. And just now you can see the presiding officer's procession making its way into the chamber.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. great Zambia, 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 remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen. Order. I have two announcements to make. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of the members of the Youth in Development Club in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may be seated. The second announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of another group of pupils and teachers from Woodford School in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. Thank you. You may take your seats. Urgent matters without notice. The Honorable Member for Kanfinsa.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to direct an urgent matter without notice to the Minister of Health. I'm unable to see the Minister of Health, and as a result, I'll direct it to the Leader of Government Business, who is our Honor the Vice President. Madam Speaker, there is information that has come to my attention, and I'm sure many may have picked this news item relating to a shortage of blood that is needed in our health facilities, Madam Speaker. And I thought that it would be important, considering the importance of this very component called blood whenever we have patients in some of our health facilities, for this matter to be addressed in terms of assuring the people of Zambia that there's enough blood for those that need operations, those that need blood transfusion. Madam Speaker, is government in order not to assure the members of the public that the issue pertaining to reported critical shortage of blood is being attended to in terms of ensuring that our citizens have access to blood and to ensure that there's no panic, Madam Speaker, because when people are panicking, they resort to vices just to get that particular component called blood. Is government in order, Madam Speaker, not to assure the nation that there's adequate blood for our patients? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Is that information verified? Is that information verified? Are we sure there is not enough blood?
It is verified. It was on news, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa, which news was that?
It was on Millennium Radio headline yesterday. It was the main headline on Millennium Radio yesterday. Resolve problems when they appear. That's why we are bringing these problems.
It's a pity the Honorable Minister of Health is not around to be sure. So in that case, I would ask the Honorable Member for Kamfisa to come up with a question. Thank you. So that you can ask whether that situation is true and then what is the government doing about it. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for according me an opportunity to raise an urgent matter without notice. Madam, yesterday, Transparency International released a report regarding the Corruption Perception Index for 2025. Madam Speaker, that report indicates that Zambia is sliding into critical corruption perception, where it has dropped, you won't believe it, 7 places. 7 countries are now better than Zambia for the first time. Declining by 7 places. That is 2 percentage points from 37 over 100, or from 39 over 100 now to 37 over 100. Madam Speaker, my thinking is that the UPND government should be able to explain to the Zambian people why our country is now perceived to be more corrupt than it has ever been in the past 5 years. Madam Speaker, I see that as important. However, don't you agree with me that it may be important for UPND to explain not only to me, but to the Zambian people why Zambia is sliding into a critically corrupt country? I seek your further direction, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Lunte, please don't involve or include the presiding officer in your issues. This matter that you've brought, Honorable Member, you clearly indicated that it's a report for 2025. But when you look at the urgent matters, we are looking at issues that happened within 24 hours. So the Honorable Member for Lunte, please find another platform where you can bring back that matter to the House, because it does not qualify under urgent matters without notice. The corruption that you are talking about did not happen yesterday or within 24 hours. It happens, it was mentioned in the report for 2025. The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I would equally want to rise on the matter of urgent matter without notice and I would like to direct it to the Minister of Home Affairs.
The Minister of
Home Affairs and the Minister of Home Affairs and National Security. Madam Speaker, you know very well that I've got a lot of respect for ministers such as my elder brother there, but I believe that we are here to assist government. And there's so many programs that the UPND government has carried out with our support as opposition members. But Madam Speaker, today I was shocked to come across on social media a letter purported to be coming from the Secretary General's office of the UPND asking for names for consideration into the Zambia Police Service recruitment. And I have an idea of this signature, but I doubt it because I know how that minister operates. But for the sake of the people of Kantanshi, and some of us who believe in some of these leaders, I wanted the minister to clarify whether he's aware, and what actually caught my attention was, it says, as you are aware, as you may be aware, Zambia Police Service is currently recruiting 4,000 officers to enhance police capacity ahead of this year's general elections.
Order, honorable members.
But Madam Speaker,
Order.
there is a record where the UPND government was very clear that PF was employing junkies. And obviously they were coming from situations like this. And we wouldn't want the good work that you have done, Honorable Minister, as we wait to take over after 2013, to inherit junkies from you. So I need your indulgence, Madam Speaker, that he can assure us that this is not true. And maybe he could also comment on the roadblock which has been removed between the Sabina Junction, which the people of Muflira, Chingola, Chisabombwe have raised immediate concerns in terms of the security lapse that will start to exist because of the removal of that roadblock. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. The honorable member for Kantanshi, when we are looking at how to come up with a agent matter without notice, you are supposed to be very specific. But in your matter, there were 3 issues that you brought. And also, honorable member, this House does not rely on social media. We have seen a lot of letters circulating. There are a lot of letters that have been circulating of late, which, to my own understanding, they are not true. However, the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, I don't know if you want to say something, but we do not rely on letters from social media.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to comment on one matter that has circulated on social media. You may recall, Madam Speaker, that last week I was presiding over a commanders' conference at the Legacy Hotel in Chongwe, wherein the Inspector General Police requested government to employ 4,000 policemen. That was a request to government. The government has not responded to that request. For us to employ, we need Treasury Authority. There is no Treasury Authority. The Minister of Finance is here. That has been given to enable us employ. We are a very transparent government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, whenever we intend to employ, we inform members of the public like we have informed members of the public that will be employing health workers. We have informed members of the public that will be employing teachers. There will be no exception if we are going to employ policemen. We inform the public. We are not like PF, Madam Speaker, who used to employ public workers privately. We have evidence where they employed officers in the Zambia National Service, in the police, without adverts. We are not like that, Madam Speaker. When the opportunity arises, and we are accorded the privilege of advertising or recruiting, who advertise, and members of the public will be informed accordingly. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. We make progress. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Tourism to present a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Tourism, maybe before you come in, Honorable Minister, the request by the Honorable Member for Kantanshi to the Minister of Home Affairs was to confirm. That is what we did exactly. Because I had in fact ruled to say that that matter does not qualify because this House does not take things from social media. But because the Honorable Member here requested for a clarification from the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, so there are no follow-up questions. The Honorable Minister of Tourism to present a ministerial statement.
Madam Speaker, this afternoon I rise to deliver a ministerial statement on the performance of the tourism sector from 2021, when the mighty United Party for National Development assumed office, to 2025. In the statement, I seek to provide this august House and the nation at large a comprehensive statement on the progress, milestones, and transformative achievements recorded during the period. Madam Speaker, tourism remains one of Zambia's most strategic economic sectors with immense potential to drive economic transformation, job creation, and sustainable development. It is a sector that fosters inclusive growth, particularly benefiting women, youth, and the rural communities. Since assuming office, the new Dawn administration has deliberately prioritized investment in tourism. This has enabled the ministry to scale up international and domestic tourism marketing, enhance tourism support infrastructure, strengthen wildlife management systems, and deepen community participation in tourism development. Madam Speaker, government's commitment in tourism development is clearly reflected in the increased budgetary
Honorable members, let's lower our conversations.
Allocations to the Ministry of Tourism. When the UPND administration assumed office in 2021, the ministry's budget stood at approximately 303 million kwacha. This allocation, Madam Speaker, has steadily increased to 1.3 billion in 2025 and further to 1.5 billion in this current year. Madam Speaker, this upward trajectory demonstrates government's recognition of tourism as a critical pillar of Zambia's economic diversification agenda. I am pleased to report, Madam Speaker, that the Ministry of Tourism has demonstrated strong recovery and resilience following the severe disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in the 2022-2023 El Nino-induced drought. Zambia recorded 2.3 million international arrivals in 2025 compared to 2.2 million in 2024, representing 4.3% growth. Domestic tourism also showed encouraging growth with 553,516 visits to museums, national parks, and heritage sites in 25, compared to 530 in 24, translating to a 4.4% increase. These figures confirm renewed confidence in Zambia as a tourism destination. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the ministry prioritized digital marketing as a core strategy to reposition destination Zambia on a global stage. As a result, these targeted digital campaigns, Zambia recorded over 1.5 billion global digital impressions in 2024 alone. Strategic investments were made on both local and international content creators to leverage authentic storytelling that showcase Zambia's natural beauty, cultural richness, and adventure experiences. These efforts were complemented by high-impact advertising placements on leading global platforms such as Expedia and the BBC, bringing credible exposure to key source markets. Locally, Madam Speaker, the ministry launched a campaign dubbed Take a Holiday Yamuloko, which continues to inspire Zambians to explore and appreciate their own country. Collectively, these initiatives have significantly strengthened Zambia's global tourism visibility and destination appeal. Madam Speaker, the growth of the sector has translated into tangible economic benefits. I will repeat, the growth of the sector has translated into tangible economic benefits. Non-tax revenue collections increased from 131 million in 2021 to over 474 million in 2025, driven by improved licensing systems, park fees, hunting fees, and other tourism-related revenue streams. In the same period, tax revenue contributions from the tourism sector grew from 483.5 million to 1.2 billion. Further, the sector currently directly supports over 159,000 jobs across accommodation, transport, tour operators, hospitality, and related services, with projections indicating continued growth as the sector expands and diversifies. Madam Speaker, accessible and resilient infrastructure is critical to tourism development. Between 2021 and 2025, tourism access roads rehabilitated increased from approximately 1,600 kilometers to over 2,500 kilometers. Loop roads improved significantly from 556 kilometers to 1,270 kilometers during the same period. While the numbers of rehabilitated airstrips has declined, this remains priority area. Under the Zambia Green, Resilient and Transformation Tourism Development Project, popularly known as the Great TDP, government will rehabilitate and upgrade the following: Chunga Airstrip in the Kafue National Park, Jeki Airstrip in the Lower Zambezi National Park, and the Kalabo Airstrip in Kalabo District, adjacent to Liua. These interventions will significantly improve accessibility and increase tourist volumes in key destinations. Madam Speaker, Zambia's tourism offering is predominantly nature-based, anchored by the iconic Museo Tunya Victoria Falls, and obviously the 20 national parks and 36 game management areas. During the period under review, the ministry intensified conservation efforts, strengthened community participation, and implemented measures to reduce human-wildlife conflicts. Madam Speaker, reported cases of human-wildlife conflict declined from over 21,000 cases in 2022 to approximately 16,500 in 2025, while injuries caused by wild animals reduced from 293 to 123 in the same period. Yes, we can do more. These improvements are attributed to the deployment of rapid response teams, distribution of deterrent tools, installation of solar-powered electric fencing, and enhanced community awareness programs. Community participation has also been strengthened through the expansion of community resource boards from 58 in 2022 to 85 in 2025, alongside increased financial disbursements to CRBs and traditional leaders to ensure that communities directly benefit from the tourism and wildlife resources. Madam Speaker, Zambia has also consolidated its position as a preferred destination for meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. During the period under review, the country successfully hosted the first ever Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area Heads of State Summit, the UN Tourism Regional Meetings, and the Zambia Travel Expo, to mention but a few. These events enhanced Zambia's visibility, attracted high-value visitors, and stimulated investment in key destinations such as Lusaka and Livingstone. Madam Speaker, in order to strengthen the regulatory and policy environment and position the tourism sector for sustained growth, the Ministry is reviewing key legislation, namely the Zambia Wildlife Act, the Tourism Hospitality Act, the National Museum Act, and the National Heritage Conservation Commission Act. These reforms are aimed to modernizing our legal framework, improving efficiency, strengthening conservation safeguards, and creating a more predictable and investor-friendly operating environment. In addition, government is developing the first ever museum policy and its implementation plan to provide clear strategic direction for the protection, promotion, and sustainable use of our cultural and heritage sites. Madam Speaker, these reforms are not being undertaken in isolation. We have deliberately ensured broad and meaningful stakeholder engagement. The Ministry has engaged industry players, community resource boards, traditional leaders, conservation partners, civil society, the academia, the cooperating partners to ensure that the voices of those directly affected are heard. Madam Speaker, we are determined to ensure that the revised laws and the policies are inclusive, practical, and responsive to the realities on the ground, whilst strengthening transparency, accountability, and shared benefits for communities. Through this consultative approach, we are laying a strong and sustainable foundation for a modern, competitive, and resilient tourism. Madam Speaker, notwithstanding these achievements, the sector faced significant challenges, including the lingering effects of COVID-19 and the 2022-2023 drought and increased encroachment in protected areas. Despite these challenges, the Ministry remained resilient and steadfast in its vision of becoming, and I quote, an efficient, responsive, and values-centered Ministry of Tourism, end quote. Looking ahead, Madam Speaker, the Ministry will continue to implement strategic interventions aimed at, 1, increasing international arrivals, expanding domestic tourism, enhancing tourism infrastructure, and strengthening conservation and sustainable efforts. A key priority is the implementation of the Great TDP, supported by the World Bank, which will unlock infrastructure development and economic opportunities in priority tourism areas. Madam Speaker, the progress recorded between 2021 and 2025 clearly demonstrates that sound policies, sustained investment, and a strong stakeholder collaboration, tourism can play a central role in Zambia's economic transformation and diversification agenda. As we look to the future, we are not merely growing a sector, we are shaping a legacy. Our vision is to position Zambia as Africa's premier sustainable tourism destination, a country where conservation drives prosperity, where communities are true partners in development, and where tourism becomes a powerful engine of inclusive economic transformation. With continued collaboration, Madam Speaker, innovation and strategic investment, we are very confident that tourism will not only showcase the beauty of our nation to the world, but will also uplift our people and strengthen our economy for generations to come. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Tourism. The Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for that wonderful ministerial statement. Madam Speaker, the people of Solwezi East would like to find out from the Minister, who has stated that, tourism is central to economic transformation and also to display the beauty of Zambia to the world. Minister, do you have plans, as you have stated, to increase and improve tourism and also grow the revenue collection in terms of looking at the sources of rivers like we have in Mushindamo, the source of the Kafue River? And also in Luapula and many other places where we have heard of some stones that keep growing every year and so on. And many other unexplored natural sources or wonders. Do we have plans to even go further and unveil all these things and display them to the world so that we can increase tourism and also increase and grow the economy through that sector? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, very, very quickly, yes, we do have plans. Madam Speaker, as I had mentioned in my ministerial statement, we have an institution called the National Heritage Conservation Commission, a statutory body within the Ministry of Tourism, mandated to look at heritage sites. And I must make mention very quickly, Madam Speaker, that we currently have over 400 waterfalls dotted across our beautiful country, Zambia. And tourism in Zambia, being nature-based, demands that such discoveries of waterfalls, and I heard him talking about stones, growing stones, is something that we should be able to showcase. So slowly but surely, we're documenting these sites as they are discovered by our locals. Slowly but surely, we are able to now showcase to the rest of the world to say, yes, indeed, in Mushindamo, we do have the source of the Kafue. Just like we have Ikelenge, where Honorable Muchima comes from, which is known to be the source of the Zambezi. Arguably so, Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. And Honorable Minister, thank you so much for your statement. And as you respond to me, I would also want the figures that you announced, whether they are in kwacha or they are in US dollar. But, Madam Speaker, my substantive question is, for us to have a fair appreciation of the rosy statement that the minister has made, one would have requested or would have provided the GDP contribution year on year so that we're able to see this growth. Because many a time the president has announced that the number of tourist arrivals has continued to grow, which is good. The number of interventions that have been laid before, such as the removal of visas and so on. But most importantly, for us to have a fair appreciation, that growth contribution into our GDP must be equally swelling so that we can see that indeed tourism is becoming an economic ministry and the jobs being created there are really there. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that follow-up question. I take it there were two questions asked, Madam Speaker. Was it in dollars or it was in kwacha? It was actually in kwacha that we're reporting. Now, with regards to GDP contribution, Madam Speaker, I just want to take this opportunity to just indicate that in a period where we were faced with the most dreaded drought, there are two sectors which contributed favorably to GDP. One is that of ICT, and the other one is that of entertainment, which obviously sits in tourism. And year on year, projected GDP contribution from tourism to government was sitting between 2%, then it grew to 2.3%. Then as we were ending the year, we ended at 3.2%. So, Madam Speaker, indeed, to agree with what our Honorable MP has just mentioned, we are able to demonstrate for the last 5 years on how much contribution to GDP the tourism sector has actually contributed. And more so, Madam Speaker, to just also preempt that we are working in liaison with our colleagues from Ministry of Labor and Social Security to also see how much contribution the tourism sector is contributing to productivity in our country. So, Madam Speaker, in the next couple of weeks or so, my colleague, Honorable Minister of Labor and Social Security, should be able to now indicate sector by sector in terms of productivity. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mbabala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Happy New Year to you, that we are talking for the first time. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for that very important statement. I hope we can see published reports of the same statement so that that news can go wide globally on how we are performing and reviving this sector. Honorable Minister, I wanted to find out about the incentives for local investors in tourism. What incentives you have put in the area of locals who wish to invest in the small-scale zoos, cuisine restaurants, and the cultural events, and many other things that can attract tourists, because tourists, when they come, they want to have a package of things which they want to see, and not just one item. And so one of the gaps we see is, for example, investment in our communities. You have to travel along to see the animals, so we can have local zoos. We can have restaurants that specialize in local cuisine that attracts tourists to take to that. And also the cultural events that we have in the country, including cultural restaurants as well.
You can summarize your
It's actually been done.
preamble. What is the question?
Yes, so the question was what incentives, but I'll try to help the minister to understand the question fully. Yes. Madam Speaker, so he has understood now. He's a tourism man. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that follow-up question from Honorable Musanje. Madam Speaker, the UPND government is very pro-private sector. And we always look out for our locals to be able to participate, to have a share in any form of investment that exists in our country. And my colleague, the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, has been very categorical over a long period of time as saying, why are our locals not investing in this sector? Then we came up with incentives, which are actually targeted to positively discriminate to our locals. Now, I did hear Honorable Musanje speaking to food. Madam Speaker, we as the Minister of Tourism are champions of what we call gastronomy tourism. In layman's language, gastronomy is purely food tourism. To be able to showcase some of the cuisines that exist in our country. And Madam Speaker, just yesterday, we were very fortunate enough to actually agree with our colleague who moved the private member's motion to speak to the Cultural and Heritage Week. Those are dates which we always want to showcase our cuisine. So those of you who feel you want an opportunity to showcase to the rest of the world that you can actually cook, or as well say mash up a very nice traditional meal, please feel free to engage us as Minister of Tourism. We want as many people to actually showcase our local cuisines and indeed to showcase our local dress. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. And Minister, thank you for your statement. Madam Speaker, I'm alive to the fact that the Minister of Tourism oversees the tourism industry in the country, and that it achieves this through collaboration with other ministries, such as Minister of Youth, which is the custodian of arts and culture. We can't forget Minister of Foreign Affairs, which markets and promotes Zambian environment in the diaspora. However, Madam Speaker, I just want to find out on one ministry which I believe can contribute fully into helping the industry grow. And this ministry is the Minister of Health. Looking at the period in question, Minister, what has the ministry done to contribute or help to the growth of your industry, looking at the medical tourism that is supposed to handle? I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Chinkuli, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, as the Honorable rightly mentioned, my ministry cuts across a number of ministries within our government. And as such, it becomes very, very important for us to get to understand what our respective colleague ministries do with respect to creating what I would like to call a hospitable stay for our visitors, whether it's business, leisure, or indeed when they're coming for medical treatment. Madam Speaker, on our cards, we have what we call medical tourism. And my colleague Minister of Health, sitting on my right here, will attest to the fact that we are in the process of creating specialized hospitals here in Zambia, where we will no longer have to go out to specific countries such as China, India, South Africa, you name them, where these specialist doctors will be coming here. Now, why are we doing such, Madam Speaker? It's very simple. We want those individuals, colleagues of ours, brothers and sisters of ours, who may have terminal illness, to just have beautiful care in an environment which we all know is beautiful, such as Zambia. Zambia has got very good natural resources. We have seen people, Madam Speaker, who have actually flown from far and wide to just come and see the Victoria Falls for the last time before they go. We have seen a lot of people who've come to see the Victoria Falls, and before you know it, they are recovering. That in itself, Madam Speaker, is what we want to capitalize on. And I'm very delighted to learn, Madam Speaker, that just right there on Airport Road, next to the Heart Hospital, will come a specialized clinic, a hospital, if it's what it's called. And many more of such things will be able to come, which will speak to medical tourism. And before I sit, Madam Speaker, I also take advantage of sports tourism that we've been working closely with my colleague, Minister of Sport. Educational tourism, Madam Speaker. We have a number of international students coming into our universities now. That in itself are opportunities that we and the Minister of Tourism are taking advantage of. All these people who come for education, for sport, and indeed for health should be able to now call upon their relatives from far and wide to come and visit and see the sights and scenes of what Zambia can offer. Madam Speaker, I submit.
The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Lundazi a chance to ask a follow-up question. Honorable Minister, when we talk about the success that you have scored between 2021 and 2025, when we look at the human and animal conflict, for us in Lundazi, it has done more damage to us. We have children who have been eaten by hyenas. We have people who are suffering because of your elephants, which don't have any security. They are just hovering all over our people there in Lundazi and destroying the crops. However, I want to remain under the subject matter. 2021 to 2025, you promised that you are going to open the Chipata Airport, but up to today, there is nothing that you can tell us. Honorable Minister, you are losing out on clients because customers are preferring to land in Lilongwe or maybe take flights out of Zambia, those especially from Chipata. And even some of us, members of parliament, who would wish to get to Chipata at the shortest possible time, we are unable to fly there. What information do you have for the people of Eastern Province, considering that you are looking at the successes that you have scored between 2021 and 2025? I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank Honorable MP for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, I'm just very delighted that the Honorable Member of Parliament has seen the nexus between that of tourism and transport and logistics. Madam Speaker, my colleague, Minister of Transport and Logistics, Honorable Tayali, has been on the floor of the House speaking to the number of airstrips and airports that the UPND government is working at building. Madam Speaker, I just want to indicate to you and probably use this platform to mention that within that particular area, Kasama Airport has been redone, Mansa Airport is being worked on, Nakonde, we have contractors on site, we are earmarking Choma. Madam Speaker, Chipata is yet another strategic airport that is on our cards. And I just want to indicate to my colleague MP here that Kasama Airport, Chipata Airport would definitely be done alongside the renovations that we're doing at Mfue International Airport. So, Madam Speaker, as government, we're very alive to some of these strategic airports that we want to work on, and be rest assured that before the end of the year, a contractor will be on site in Kasama, as we already have a contractor in Mansa as well as in Mfue. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chikankata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for your comprehensive statement. Appreciating the tangible economic benefits scored by your ministry, Honorable Minister, my question is, who are the primary tourists and what is the average expenditure per visitor? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, if I heard the Honorable MP his question correctly, as in who is a tourist, I'll probably attempt to answer it in this particular manner. Madam Speaker, we have what I would like to call three kinds of tourists. Tourist number one is who we call the FIT, the Free Independent Traveler. Those ones who want to go to a particular destination to just go and enjoy themselves, be it domestic as well as international. We have business tourists, Madam Speaker, who obviously come to scout for business in a specific destination, such as Zambia. As you may have seen, an influx of business tourists coming here looking for opportunities. And then also within the business tourism, we have those ones who come for exhibitions, which obviously is the MICE. Now, just to attempt to answer her question, Madam Speaker, we have a domestic tourist who is herself or myself, and for me to go and reside in Chikankata for over 24 hours, I'll be regarded as a domestic tourist because I would have been 50 kilometers out of my premises. Madam Speaker, with regards to average spend, Madam Speaker, I'll use this opportunity to just indicate to my colleague MP that we look at spend for a tourist based on the average length of stay. On average in Zambia, the average length of stay for a tourist is sitting at about 3.5 days. That in itself, Madam Speaker, will translate to dollar terms, we'll probably say $500 per person. Madam Speaker, I submit.
The Honorable Member for Itesteji.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker and Minister. Thank you for the comprehensive statement. Minister, I want to begin by indicating to you that the core management of the Kafue National Park is yielding positive results, and I think it's undisputable. Despite that, we, the locals, we are no longer eating what we used to eat in the past because poaching has reduced. Now, Minister, the Kafue National Park, just in 2025, it generated over 21,686 visitors who went there. And the income which is coming from this national park, Minister, you already the figures. The figures are going up, meaning the area is contributing to the national, gross national development. Now, Minister, the road that goes to Itestes, where the tourists who wants to visit Itestes use, is in a deplorable state. Dundumwezi Road, Itestes, Mumba Road, and Minister, you can do better. If a nexus was created between what is coming out of the national park and the road infrastructure. I'm aware that, Minister, over 70%.
What is the question?
of the tourists, they cancel their bookings because of the poor road. Minister, from this World Bank fund that you mentioned, is there anything that you can do so that you even do much better? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and just to thank my colleague MP for that follow-up question.
Sorry for the reaction.
Madam Speaker, I do sympathize with my colleague Honorable MP for Iteji with regards to the state of the road. Madam Speaker, as I had mentioned in my ministerial statement, within the project of the Great TDP, we have earmarked certain sections of the park, which obviously is Kafue National Park, together with the co-management that we're doing with the African parks, to see some of the sections that will be worked on with regards to access into Kafue National Park. I just want to use this opportunity, Madam Speaker, that the Kalomo-Dundumwezi stretch, which obviously is regarded as the south of the Kafue National Park, is one such area that is earmarked for a 300-key five-star hotel, which should be coming up. And definitely it becomes very, very important for us to be able to connect Livingstone, Kalomo, through to Kafue National Park through Dundumwezi. But, Madam Speaker, I must also hasten to mention that some of these projects regarding to trunk roads within the country, obviously, would be a preserve of our colleagues from the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. And ultimately, in as much as we're generating these funds, it should be very clear, Madam Speaker, that these funds go into Control 99 and obviously is shared across the board to all other sectors, even that of tourism. So, Madam Speaker, I would like to invite my colleague, MP for Iteji, to just come and visit our office so that we can find ways and means on how we can put together a project plan that will be able to address some of the roads. And to agree with him, the road branching off the Mumba Road into Iteji is not in a very desirable state, and it would actually be very good for us to actually rehabilitate it so that we increase the number of tourists getting to the site. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, you were very proud when giving us that statement, and I appreciate what you have achieved so far. But my question to you, Minister, is in terms of protecting the very animals or the very national parks of ours, Minister, how much investment have you put in terms of transport for our game rangers in our game parks? In addition to that, how many have you recruited so that your success can go up in terms of protective units in our game management areas? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for that follow-up question, Honorable Menyani. Madam Speaker, as I had indicated earlier, the draw card for our tourists coming into our country in Zambia today is the wildlife, is the forests, the birds, together with our rivers. And it becomes increasingly important that we actually do protect the wildlife. Madam Speaker, as a ministry, we have deliberately engaged a number of collaborative management partners to be able to assist us to manage these protected areas, which is obviously the national parks as well as the game management areas. I want to also indicate that if you look at our 2026 budget, which is sitting at about 1.5 billion, I must make mention that 60% of that particular budget is going towards law enforcement and conservation for this wildlife. Now, why am I saying that, Madam Speaker? It becomes very, very important for us to actually understand that we should all take pride in ensuring that our wildlife is protected, which invariably begs the question to say, how many of our officers are we going to employ? How many vehicles, tools of trade are we going to deploy? I was on the floor of the House, Madam Speaker, not so long ago, where we indicated that within the Department of National Parks and Wildlife, we did deploy in excess of about 30 Land Cruiser vehicles to be able to assist us in law enforcement. Those are what has been deployed. If the community do not see them, Madam Speaker, it could be something administrative that needs to be brought to our attention so that we resolve that matter. With regards to the recruitment, just like Honorable Mwimbu earlier mentioned, when we are employing in government, this UPND government is very transparent. We will advise you. The only time that the Department of National Parks and Wildlife employed was in 22 when we were given Treasury Authority. Do we have Treasury Authority now? Not as yet. But be rest assured that when the time to employ our wildlife police officers comes, the rest of the nation will know and will be as impartial as we possibly can to employ as many Zambians as we possibly can. Madam Speaker, I submit.
The Honourable Member for Mwense.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, of course, the progress that has been made in your ministry has been noted, but what was interesting for me is when you spoke to the domestic tourism, because I suppose that should be the sustainable way to promote tourism. So what I wanted to find out from you is that even the number that you mentioned, 553 plus, I think we can do much better in terms of that particular number. So what specific measures are you putting in place just to ensure that we enhance our domestic tourism? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and just to thank my Honourable MP for Mwense for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, I do believe the statement was very clear. The 580,000 plus domestic tourists are domestic tourists that visited public institutions, the National Park, the museum, as well as the heritage sites. Now, I will just use this opportunity again, Madam Speaker, to just give comfort to the Honourable MP here and indeed the nation at large that we are in the process of changing our reporting for those domestic tourists. I do believe that the number that we report for public places visited is much, much bigger than the international arrivals. And we have engaged our colleagues from the Ministry of Technology and Science and ourselves to start identifying, tagging tourists who go to what we regard as tourism development sites, or rather points of interest within the tourism sector. In Zambia today, Madam Speaker, we do not have what we call a vacation. We always rely on what we call a 4 days holiday or a 4D, or maybe a long weekend, as they like to call it. Now, in those particular periods, that is where now we'll be able to now identify who has left their home to go and enjoy in a certain place. As we'll be seeing other people reveling in Tenguleni on the 28th of February, where we'll see hordes and hordes of people traveling to Chipata to go and celebrate the Nkwala traditional ceremony. That in itself, Madam Speaker, will show us an indication of how many people actually move locally from Lusaka into Chipata and vice versa, or indeed sometime in March when we go and enjoy our Komboka ceremony. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. I'll take the last three, Bangweulu, Bwana Mkubwa, and Kankoyo. In that order, the Honourable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Minister indicated the number of foreign tourists that visited Zambia. He also emphasized they increased the budget allocation to tourism sector. But Madam Speaker, one would have thought that the minister, like Honorable Mabumba, to talk about the number of tourists, the local ones. And also one would have thought that minister will amplify more on connectivity, improved roads, and also reduced airfares for domestic tourists. I just want to find out, Madam Speaker, from the Tourism Development Fund, how much has been channeled towards local and domestic tourism, and also how much investment the minister has so far done in the past 5 years towards the development of Zambia Beach. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I just want to thank Honourable for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, I do assume I was very clear when I read out the number of domestic tourists. Madam Speaker, the number of domestic tourists has actually increased. And when we talk about increasing, we're talking about from 530 to 553. Now, I was very clear, Madam Speaker, as I was responding to Honorable Mabumba's question also, that these numbers pertaining to heritage sites, national parks, as well as museums. Now, we have further realized as a ministry that these numbers are not giving us a true reflection of the domestic tourists who are coming through. And that's the reason why we have engaged our sister ministry, the Ministry of Technology and Science, to work with our MNOs, mobile network operators, to now target individuals who leave their homes to go to a different place and stay there for over 24 hours, and we'll tag them as domestic tourists. We are not going to be intrusive by any standard, no. All we are looking at is just a number of who is where. And we'll use ceremonies, which obviously we gladly support as a Minister of Tourism. We support close to 99 traditional ceremonies. So at any given time, if people are gone there today, we should be able to know that Honorable Mwimbu does not live here. No, but he lives in Monzesa. But he's from a different area, and he's staying in a particular area for over 24 hours. We will tag him as a domestic tourist. Now, going back to what Honorable Cassandra mentioned, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my early days in the ministry, I was very determined into opening up what we would call the Northern Circuit. And my first order of business was to spend money in excess of close to 2 million on building what we would call a tourism information center on Samfya Beach, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what is of Samfya Tourism Information Center in Samfya today is not something that is very desirable, but we'll still continue working with our colleagues, including him, the area member of parliament for Bangwaulu, to be able to alert the people of that area that tourism is something that is community-based. Tourism requires people to hold hands. Tourism requires people to put in their resources and their energies. But what we see in some of these areas, Madam Speaker, is something that obviously is not desirable. So we are looking at developing tourism across the country. Not only are we going to be talking about Livingstone because Livingstone is the tourist capital, but we have invested tourism, Madam Speaker, in terms of the Tourism Development Fund that the Honorable Member was talking about. We have deployed a number of officers to talk to training for our tourists, where people, today, Madam Speaker, there is nobody who's been complaining about an immigration officer because we have trained them. And Honorable Minister of Home Affairs is employing very good immigration officers, the ones who can relate to tourists very well. And we're very delighted that those funds for training actually came from Tourism Development Fund. We have actually allocated 30% of the Tourism Development Fund to go towards infrastructure development. That in itself is not only for a tourist capital, no, Madam Speaker, but for other areas that we're opening up, over and above what is going to be contained in the Great TDP. So, Madam Speaker, there's a lot that is going on. There's a lot that we're doing in the ministry, and we're just looking for the support of well-meaning honorable members of parliament to handhold with the Minister of Tourism so that this tourism sector can actually drive our economy. Madam Speaker, I submit.
The honorable member for Bwana Mkubwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister of Tourism, with the information and statistics which bringing before the floor of this House. And Madam Speaker, tourism is one of the very important sectors. In some countries like Kenya and Tanzania and Seychelles, they are a major contributor to their GDP. Minister, I wanted to find out, looking at your statistics, the number of tourists who visited this country, I think if I recall very well, were 2.2 million plus. I just wanted to find out in terms of the deliberate policies and other pragmatic measures you've put in place, because looking at your focus and targets as a ministry for 2026 in terms of increasing the number of tourists coming to this country, and probably roughly how much we are earning from the aforesaid. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
One question per person. The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the follow-up question from Bwana Mkubwa MP. Madam Speaker, I'm sure the nation has heard it before from either myself, the Honorable Minister of Finance, or indeed our Head of State, Mr. Gade Chilema, where we're encouraging our locals to participate in investment, encouraging our locals to work hard. Madam Speaker, the tourism business is not a fly-by-night kind of business. It requires you to work hard. It requires you to throw money at it for a very long time so that you start recouping your investment. Madam Speaker, we in the Ministry of Tourism are talking about positive discrimination. And we've been calling upon a number of Zambians to say, come and invest in the sector. We don't have enough beds in our sector, Madam Speaker. We don't have enough entertainment in our sector, Madam Speaker. We don't have enough child-friendly activities in our sector. And that is what we're encouraging people to be able to come and speak to us. We'll give them sites, and then they build. Madam Speaker, I just want to clearly state very, very quickly that as you come to our ministry, we do not give out cash. There is no cash that exists in the Ministry of Tourism. We will only but show you where to invest. Come with your private capital. And if you're looking for investors, or rather partners, that's what we like to encourage. Madam Speaker, there's a bit of some hesitation from our colleagues who we may have met who are scared of getting into partnership. Madam Speaker, in partnership reduces your exposure. In partnership, there's more market for your business. In partnership, there's more ideas. So we encourage Zambians to partner with other well-known individuals who may have equity on the other side. And you may just have land, Honorable Mambazi. If you have land, find somebody who's got cash for your operating expenses. And that for us is what we're telling them. So as a ministry, we are pointing you in the right direction of where we see that there's appetite, and we handhold you so that you're able to do it. The incentives that exist within government through the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and indeed through the Ministry of Finance, are so immense, Madam Speaker, that anybody can actually jump onto a business in tourism and be able to fly almost immediately. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Last member, the Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to thank the Minister of Tourism for this exponential growth in this sector. Numbers don't lie. However, Madam Speaker, having more tourists, one thing, but having the number of increased tourists spend more in the country is another thing. Most of the tourists you meet in Livingstone, they're either booked by travel agencies from South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and Botswana. They are sleeping on the other side of Zimbabwe. They only come into Zambia for a few hours, and they go and spend their money more into countries just across. Honorable Minister, what measures are you putting in place to ensure that the increase in the number of tourists can also reflect on the income which is being generated in the country by them spending more here? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to just thank the Honorable MP for the follow-up question. Madam Speaker, I'm not quite sure about the statement which my colleague MP mentioned to saying they only come for a day and then they go back. Our numbers indicate otherwise. Our numbers indicate that they come and they stay, and that's the reason why I mentioned about the 3.5 days length of stay. Madam Speaker, in terms of the spend, again, is something that I explained in the ministerial statement. The number of the revenues are growing. We just want to increase our length of stay. We want more activities. We want more things for our tourists to do, which obviously do not exist. And it's incumbent, as Honorable Mwimbo would say, it's incumbent upon you, the locals, the Zambians, to invest in the sector, and we're able to make the tourists spend more. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Questions for oral answer understanding order number 80. The Honorable Member for Milengi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 173.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Milenge Parliamentary Constituency asks the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development when the construction of the Molumbi Bridge across the Luera River in the Milenge district to commence, and B, what the cause of the delay in commencing the works is. In response, Madam Speaker, the construction of Molumbi Bridge across the Luera River in Milenge district commence in the second quarter of 2026. Madam Speaker,
Order, honorable members.
the project will be funded using the 2026 Constituency Emergency Fund. The delay, Madam Speaker, was because in the year 2025, the CDF committee in Milenge submitted the following bridges to be constructed and were constructed. That were the ones that was the three that were constructed is Chipundu, Kafubashi, and Mapula. So in the year 2026, the committee decided to do the bridge in question. Thank you so much.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Milengi.
I think, Madam Speaker, we have a crisis. I think the Minister has a mix-up in terms of the information they've given him. What he's talking about is totally different bridges. Those were under emergency. This particular bridge is the main one that was given, and there was an assurance by government earlier that there will be those metal bridges which they put under the emergency. But it's difficult for me to put the information together, but for the sake of clarity, Honorable Minister, I know that the answers you have is for different portions. It's not this particular one. Are you able to come back and state the position of government? Because there's consistent disruption of social services in this area. It sits in between Mulumbi, Mulungushi, and our referral hospital in terms of healthcare is in Mansa. In the absence of this bridge, and it's eminently, it's already got a restriction in terms of the weight it can carry. Minister, are you able to, I'll clarify, don't worry. Minister, there's a mix-up clearly in the answers you've been given. I don't know how we progress, Madam Speaker, because the Minister is clearly talking about different bridges. I'm not sure how we would progress in terms of this particular question, because obviously it will be out of what the people of Milenge are expecting. I seek your guidance, Madam Speaker.
I don't know what the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development has to say.
Madam Speaker,
Madam
Speaker, thank you so much, and I would like to thank my dear colleague for bringing up his concern. Madam Speaker, Acro bridges are under the means of infrastructure.
Okay.
Maybe the request that they had done was to under means of infrastructure, but however, nothing stops my dear colleague to have an engagement with me and also the technical staff at the ministry so that we get the clear position. Nothing really stops him. It's an open door policy that we do under New Dawn administration. He's very much welcome so that we look at his concerns and what is real on the ground. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So the Honorable Member for Milengi, please find time so that you visit the Minister of Local Government and also the Minister of Infrastructure so that you get a good response that you are going to share with your people in the constituency. We make progress. Next question. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
question number 174.
The Honorable Minister of Information and Media.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Chinsali. As the Minister of Information and Media, in A, how many Zambian News and Information Services and its officers there were in 1, Chinsali District, and 2, Muchinga Province? The response, Madam Speaker, the Zambia News and Information Services Zanis Chinsali District Office has 2 members of staff. That is to say, the District Information Officer and the Campaign Van Operation Technician. Madam Speaker, Muchinga Province has a total of 34 Zanis staff, of which 14 are newly recruited officers. In B, whether the number of officers above was adequate. The response, Madam Speaker, the number of officers is not adequate for Chinsali District and the province. Chinsali District requires an addition of an assistant information officer, a driver, and an office orderly. Madam Speaker, Muchinga Province in all requires an additional of the following staff: 6 assistant information officers for Nakonde, Isoka, Chinsali, Shiwangandu, Mpika, and Mafinga districts, 1 camera person and 1 photographer at the provincial office, 4 campaign van operator technicians for Mafinga, Mpika, Lavushimanda, and Kanchibia, 7 drivers, an addition at the provincial office, 6 for Nakonde, Mafinga, Shiwangandu, Lavushimanda, Kanchibia, and Chinsali districts, 5, 1 additional at the provincial office, and 4 for Chinsali, Shiwangandu, Kanchibia, and Lavushimanda, 2 station handmen for the provincial studio surrounding, 1 watchman for the provincial studio. If not, when the government will recruit additional staff to meet the shortfall? The response, Madam Speaker, the recruitment of new staff is subject to availability of funds by the Treasury. And I can also add, Madam Speaker, here that as the House and the nation may know, yesterday, the Minister of Information and through Zanis signed an agreement in Dubai with Mouth Choice so that Zanis now will be operating on the Mouth Choice DSTV platform, which will commence its broadcast on that platform on the 24th of February, just this month, 2026. This, Madam Speaker, we consider as a ministry and as government a very important milestone in the dissemination of information to our people, because Zanis now will be viewed right across the globe. And with that, Madam Speaker, comes an opportunity which in part answers the question for the honorable member as to the adequacy of staff relating to the establishment of Zanis at national and at provincial level, viz. Muchinga, that now, through the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Information is presenting an expanded establishment for Zanis, which entails recruitment of more staff as a matter of agency in order to capacitate Zanis's capacity to operate diligently and professionally on that DSTV platform. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you,
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister has only answered part A, B, and C of the question. He has not answered D and E. So maybe before I ask a supplementary question, he has not answered the other part of the question.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Information and Media.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for the reminder. At D, when the government last provided equipment to the ZANIS office in Chinsali, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Information and Media procured the following equipment for Chinsali office in 2023 and 2024. That is the answer, sir. When the new equipment will be provided? The response, Madam Speaker, the ZANIS department is currently in the process of procurement new sets of equipment for Mchinga province for operations. These will be distributed to the province by the end of the first quarter for 2026. Madam Speaker, I would also like to add here, by way of perhaps reminder to the Honorable Member for Chinsali, that recently the Ministry of Information, through ZANIS, did procure motor vehicles for all the provinces, and Mchinga was one of the beneficiaries. And with the elections of August 13th around the corner, and with the need and requirement for our citizens to be well informed about those elections and the many good programs of government, this government, Madam Speaker, through the Ministry of Information, is putting in place measures to capacitate ZANIS in Mchinga, in Chinsali, and right across the country at various levels in terms of equipment requirements. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Do you have a question, the Honorable Member for Chinsali?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I would like to find out from the Honorable Minister, looking at the answer that he has provided, he has indicated that the members of staff, both at Chinsali District Office as well as the province, is inadequate. So considering that the people there are inadequate, does it mean the operations of ZANIS have not been at expected level, considering that they have not been adequate staff? How have they been managing to work? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Information and Media.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and thank you, Honorable Member for Chinsali, for that question. Indeed, Madam Speaker, ZANIS Chinsali and ZANIS Mchinga, just like the rest of the country, is under-equipped and has been underfunded for many years. That, Madam Speaker, when the New Dawn administration took office, and when I took office as Minister for Information and did a countrywide tour to acquaint myself on the status of the infrastructure and equipment for ZANIS, it was shocking. It spoke to many years of neglect and degradation. And that is what the ministry and government, under the able leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, is working round the clock to be able to fix. Madam Speaker, as we move on ahead, given that the economy now has rebounded and is now on its 2 feet, with proper recovery in sight, stability and resilience, there will be more money to be disbursed or allocated to government agencies such as ZANIS, just like other government agencies. But this far, there is acknowledgement from the ZANIS department, just like this morning, had an interaction at the office, Madam Speaker, with all public media heads. ZANIS did acknowledge that they are now receiving better funding and better support for equipment than they used to before. But there's a lot more work to be done to bring ZANIS up to speed. Now, as to whether ZANIS has been working up to the expected levels, I would like to say yes. With that lean establishment, they've still been able to deliver because their mandate has mainly been gathering information for onward transmission to other media houses for publication. But now they have this core mandate of themselves, collecting information and be the ones to publicize through ZANIS TV, which is a new outfit on our media landscape in Zambia. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The last member, the Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And Mr. Thank you so much for the wonderful work that you have highlighted, what the UPND government is doing. You have talked about staff recruitment, provision of equipment to capacitate ZANIS. All this is because of the goodwill of the President of the Republic of Zambia. Minister, you have talked about provision of motor vehicles for ZANIS in all the provinces. I want to find out from you if there is intention to go down to the districts, like we have the police vehicles at the district level, so that we are able indeed to have more information disseminated for the good works that we have done, for example, through CDF. There are so many projects, especially in the rural districts. Are you able to tell us, especially the people of Solwezi East, if at all there is intention to provide motor vehicles at district level so that we're able to do more work to disseminate information to the public? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Information and Media.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Mshindamo for that particular question. I would like to indicate that it is indeed the intention of government to procure motor vehicles and other equipment to district level, and in fact beyond that to constituency level, in order to make it possible, accessible and affordable for members of parliament to access ZANIS so that they can showcase the good work that they have done in the last 4.5 years using CDF. Presently, Madam Speaker, we are aware that it's very expensive for your members to hire ZNBC staffer or ZANIS staffer to go and showcase the CDF projects happening in all the 156 constituencies for the Republic of Zambia. And therefore, to that particular effect, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Information has already written to Cabinet requesting that, as and in line with the example given of CDF motor vehicles, that we, the members of this House, do consider to purchase some equipment, if not motor vehicles, for every district using CDF, so that those vehicles will be the ones that will be carrying media staff to accompany honorable members as you go around showcasing your CDF projects. You have done so well. And Madam Speaker, I know that in 2026 we are going to have the highest retention rate of these members of parliament coming back for the first time. Because CDF is working. And there is need, therefore, for ZANIS to cascade to district level to ensure that these members of parliament, the good works they've done, the whole nation can appreciate and should not be shocked after 13th August 2026 that the majority of them, except just a few, like that one, just a few are not working. The rest are coming. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kanfinsa.
Madam Speaker, once again, I'm greatly honored to ask question number 175 to the Minister of Finance. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Kangombe has asked the following questions. A, how much of the following debt the government contracted from January 2022 to August 2025, year by year? Domestic debt and foreign debt. B, what the outstanding debt at A was as of September 2025, and C, what measures are being taken to settle the debt. Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. Government contracted the following debt from January 2022 to August 2025, year by year. In year 2022, domestic debt was 69.6 billion. In 2023, it was 73.1 billion. And 2024, 56.1 billion. And 2025, 62 billion. On the external borrowing, in 2022, it was 2.8 billion. In 2023, 362.6 million. And in 2024, $209.6 million. Madam Speaker, under B, the outstanding debt as at the end of September 2025 is 635.2 billion kwacha, translated into exchange into US dollars at the time. It amounted to 26.6 billion, broken down as follows. Domestic debt stock was at 252.8 billion, approximately $10.6 billion, and external debt was 382.4 billion, or $16 billion. Madam Speaker, the government has implemented several measures to ensure sustainable debt management and timely settlement of obligations. These include strengthening domestic revenue mobilization, prioritizing concessional financing, implementing fiscal consolidation, engaging creditors in debt restructuring, and enhancing debt transparency and monitoring through improved reporting. Madam Speaker, government remains committed to prudent borrowing and maintaining debt sustainability in line with medium-term debt management strategy. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, according to the Minister of Finance, there are figures that he has highlighted. Of course, I didn't get the last figure for the foreign debt for 2025, but clearly from the figures, 9.6 billion, 33 billion, there's demonstration that even after 2022, government has continued to borrow. My first follow-up question, Madam Speaker, to the Minister of Finance. Minister, we now have a law in place which obviously helps us to manage our debt. I wanted to find out if your office has now put in place a sinking fund that allows us to be saving some money in the event that we struggle to offset our debt. That is my first follow-up question. I thank you, Minister.
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think you first issued a comment which was borrowing is continuing to take place. Yes, that is correct, but it has continued to take place at a prudent level. It's important, Madam Speaker, that we don't get ourselves confused with numbers. This is not a game where we just look at numbers and say, date in this year, it was 5. The other year, it was 7. The other year, it was 9. Therefore, we are still having a problem. It's not like that. Because the important thing here is to analyze the debt carrying capacity of the country. The debt carrying capacity of the country. That is what is important, not the absolute amount of money. To simplify it, if there are two individuals, A and B, A has got nothing, no dogs, no cows, no chickens, and A ends up borrowing 50 kwacha, that 50 kwacha can be a problem to pay back because, as I said, no chicken, no dogs, no cats, nothing. But another individual B, he has got maybe thousands of cows, he goes to borrow $1 million. Would you then conclude that the one who borrowed 50 kwacha is more debt sustainable than the one who borrowed $1 million but with a big crop of cattle? Clearly, the one with the cattle, the borrowing capacity is bigger. So what has happened, Madam Speaker, what has happened in this country since 2021? The capacity of the country to carry debt has been improving. Madam Speaker, in 2021, the reserves, foreign exchange reserves that we found were $1.6 billion. 1.6 billion. Today, as we speak, it's more than $5.6 billion. So can you compare yourselves in 2021 with these numbers? So, all I'm saying, I don't want to go deeper and deeper. All I'm saying, Madam Speaker, is that don't confuse yourself with numbers, because within those numbers there are other intricate factors that you must take into account. Your question now was on the sinking funds. We do not have a sinking fund. A sinking fund is money that you put aside so that money that you've borrowed in the future, you build reserves to service that debt. It's not the case that you must always have a sinking fund. It is only one of the options that is available to being debt sustainable. Only one of the options. The other option, of course, is to make sure that every year, as you do the budget, you provide enough funds for you to service the debt. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the figures are clear, and I was just trying to remind the Minister that there is demonstration that borrowing is still taking place. My second follow-up question to the Minister of Finance. Minister, the trend shows that there are figures that we've been borrowing, and you normally bring what is called an annual borrowing plan. I wanted to find out, based on the illustration that you have given, the illustration around debt sustainability, are you confirming that even in the next couple of years, you will still be presenting annual borrowing plans for government to borrow more money? Is that what you are stating? That the policy of government is that borrowing will continue? I basically wanted to establish that fact. Will borrowing continue based on the trend that we are seeing, that for the last 4 years, government has still been borrowing? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I can confirm that as far as the law is concerned now, the law that was passed by this Parliament under this government, before the state borrows an annual borrowing plan must be presented before Parliament so that you, the representatives of the people, can approve that. And in approving that, other factors come in. As you approve, you must look at the broad issues that are going to be presented to you. Does this extra borrowing as enshrined in this plan mean that the country is going to be debt unsustainable or not? So in short, yes, the borrowing plans are always going to be considered. My last comment on this, Madam Speaker, because these numbers, truly speaking, can be confusing if you are not, if you have not been schooled in that. It does not mean that you are a bad person. What? No, it just means that, just like me, if I am confronted with numbers on this bridge across the stream, strong enough to take this load or not, of course, I may be tempted to use my eyes and say, the timber looks big, therefore it is okay. It doesn't mean that I'm necessarily bad. So what I'm saying, Honorable, listen to the experts, especially those who are independent. The World Bank issues a report on debt sustainability in Zambia. The IMF issues a report. On top of that, there are these private credit rating agencies. Private rating agencies, they are watching us every month, every minute. Is the country getting into problems or not? And they issue public reports. When the country was under threat of getting bankrupt in 2020, 2019, they issued a statement. Zambia, be careful. You are getting into problems. Of course, the government that was there then ignored that. Today, they still issue those reports, and the reports show that the debt carrying capacity of the country has improved. So, if you don't want to get confused by the numbers, the easiest thing to do is receive the reports of the experts, and they'll tell you objectively where the country is headed to. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity given to me to ask a follow-up question on the Honourable Minister of Finance. Honourable Minister, you've demonstrated sufficiently that borrowing has been taking place against your own campaign promise of putting a moratorium on debt contraction. I would like to find out from you why you've continued borrowing, the same borrowing that you condemned, and what you've been using the money for. Madam Speaker, the minister is telling us that before borrowing, you have to come to Parliament, as it were. But recently, they borrowed money to pay farmers, and that did not come here for this House to approve that borrowing. The question again is that why have you been borrowing against your own campaign promise, and what have you used the money for? Because when we look around, we can't see any tangible infrastructure development that you've borrowed these colossal sums of money for. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable. First of all, don't put words in our mouths. Don't put words in our mouths. There is nowhere where we ever said there will be no borrowing. What we said was that borrowing is going to be controlled, and borrowing has been controlled. Madam Speaker, secondly, he says that they don't see where the money has gone to. But, Madam Speaker, if you look at What has happened in the last 4 years? What has happened in the last 4 years? When you consolidate all the financial resources coming to the country, borrowing and our only funds, because you must combine those two. Don't create artificial wedges between the two. Those two must be combined to define the total financial resource base in the country. Honorable, are you denying the fact that today there are more teachers in the country? Are you denying the fact that today, except for those MPs, and Madam Speaker, I must say, I'm shocked because when I went to campaign in Kasama, the ward where I was assigned, I have 10 wards in Liwa. Where I went, there are also 10 wards. When I looked at the amount of CDF that we have done in my constituency, we are no longer counting wards to say, in this ward I've done this, in this ward I've done that. We count about, in this polling station I've done this, in this polling station I've done this, in this polling station I've done this. But when I went where I went, it was a struggle to see CDF works. In short, what I'm saying is that financial resources, when you ask where is the money going, I can say that in most constituencies, we are building classrooms which were never there. We are building clinics which were never there. We are putting boreholes which are not there. It is up to our colleagues, those who decide that they must hide CDF money so that they can portray that the government is not working. It's up to them. But we're telling them, we're even showing them pictures. How come in this place there are no classrooms? Look at what we are doing. And this is how we won. Because we're able to convince the people that So, Madam Speaker,
All the honorable members.
So, Madam Speaker, you can't deny the fact that now, compared to 4 years ago, this government has done so much in terms of development. You can't deny that. You can't deny that. On the contrary, Madam Speaker, huge amounts of money were borrowed under their party. They said they were going to fix the railway line, Zambia Railways line. $110 million was given out. Today, the train moves like a millipede. Madam Speaker, I could go on and on, but I would say that under this government, money that has been borrowed, you can show what has happened. You can see the developments. Under the government that they saved, we are still asking ourselves what happened to the money. But in the meantime, we see recoveries of huge amounts of assets. We see recoveries of huge amounts of assets. Then you say, oh, let's add one and one together. Then we know the answer. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
I'll take the last three. The honorable member for Lundazi, Rukasha, and Mitete. Before the honorable member for Lundazi comes up, there's an indication for a point of order. The honorable member for Mongo Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Mongo Central to raise a very serious point of order on the Member of Parliament from Mpika. It's very important, Madam Speaker, that what we say here must always be factual, as this is a house of order. Is the Member of Parliament for Mpika in order to insinuate that this government has borrowed money without coming here to Parliament, when we know that just recently the Honorable Minister came here to Parliament to present the annual borrowing plan, which we as members of Parliament approved. If he is in doubt
The honorable member for Lundazi sits in the same committee with me, where we scrutinize this thing before coming here to Parliament. Is the member of Parliament for Pika therefore in order to mislead the public and mislead himself that this government borrowed money without coming here to Parliament? Standing order number 71. I seek your very serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member for Mungu Central. You have explained adequately. So the Honorable Member actually was out of order. He was out of order. We make progress. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving a people of Lundazi to make a follow-up question. Honorable Minister of Finance, it's only today I've heard where you are saying prudent borrowing. There's no prudent borrowing. Every borrowing has a shame to it.
Honorable
There's no
Member
prudent
for
borrowing.
Lundazi.
Honorable Minister of Finance, let me ask the question.
Honorable
Madam
Member for Lundazi, that word shame that you used is unparliamentary.
Madam Speaker,
in
let
the
me
manner
retrieve.
it was used, can you withdraw it and replace it with
Thank
a
you,
better
Madam
word?
Speaker. I retrieve the word shame, and just want to advise that even the zygotes today have borrowed. Before children are born, they are already owing in this country. And none of us are going to be there to pay that debt because it is too much
What
borrowing
is your question,
which has
Honorable
taken
Member?
place. Madam Speaker, the question that I have for the Honorable Minister of Finance, please, can you give me a chance? I'm the only one with the floor.
Members.
I have the floor.
Order. Honorable Member for Lundazi, please, we are running behind time. Just
Thank you,
concentrate
Madam
on
Speaker.
your question.
Honorable Minister of Finance, the honeymoon is over. IMF, the last date was on the 31st of January. I hope we are not going to get into another IMF program because we need to know how to discipline ourselves not to borrow beyond what we can be able to pay. Honorable Minister, the question that I have for you is that now that we have to depend on domestic resources, there are three things that makes it very difficult for us to be able to get our domestic finances in place. Number one, delayed implementation of the policies which are propounded on the floor of the House. The second one, tax-free holidays which are given to foreign entities. And the last one, we hear of gold which has gone to Dubai, and yet in this country there's no record, but in Dubai they are saying that Zambia has brought so much gold. Honorable Minister, those are the resources that can be able to help us to pay back the debt. What are you going? That's the problem with ministers who don't want to be told the truth. Honorable Minister of Finance, the question that I have for you, what are you going to do to seal these leakages so that we can be able to pay, so that my grandchild Chatoa shouldn't come and start suffering the debt which she didn't contract? I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
There are so many things that the Honorable said. I'm struggling to find out what it is that she actually said. But let me say that focusing on the leakages, yes, there are leakages, but those leakages are not, they did not start today. If you go back to PF, there were even times when the Financial Intelligence Committee, Financial Intelligence Center, when they tried to present a report, people were being fired for talking about leakages. They are no longer being fired. They are being encouraged to write this report. And this government is now acting on those reports. This government is now acting on those reports. The commission, the Minerals Commission, that has now been formed, is part of the action plan to make sure that with time we get to have a handle on these financial flows which are illicit. You talked about financial holidays. I'm not aware of any myself, especially in the mining sector. This is something that we've explained over and over in this House. Over and over in this House, we've said that the biggest taxpayer in this country is the mining sector. The mining sector is the biggest taxpayer in this country. Under the PF government, it was not the biggest. Why? Because they were busy closing the mines. Yes. How did you expect to get money from the mining sector if you were busy closing them? Now we are opening them. Now they're expanding. And as you can see, the biggest source of revenue today is from the mining sector. If only this had happened, if only this had started some time ago, Zambia would never have gotten into the problems that it got to. So the biggest mistake was to elect PF. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Mitete in summary. Order, Honourable Members. Order. The Honourable Member for Mitete.
Madam Speaker, like you have indicated, thank you very much. In summary, Minister of Finance.
The Honourable Member for Mitete, there's an indication for a point of order.
Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Chinsari, what is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, when we indicated on, no, it has just come back now. I was the one.
Order, Honourable Member for Chinsari. The presiding officer has got powers to pick whoever he or she wants on the, list.
I was removed from the system, Madam Speaker, so I wanted to find out if the House was in order to remove me from the council here.
The House was in order. I was in order.
Sean.
Hello? The Honourable Member for Chinsari? What did you say?
No, I said question.
On who?
No, just against the House. Oh.
No. The House was not talking. I was the one who was talking, Honourable Member.
Madam Speaker, I was saying question against Honourable Kambita. It's too much what he's been doing.
You may take your seat. The Honourable Member for Zambezi East, we want to finish this question by tea break. The Honourable Member for Mitete.
Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker. You said in summary. So, Minister of Finance, in summary, what is the difference between the borrowing that was done from 2011 to 2021 and the borrowing from 2022 to 2025, as the question has been put? What is the difference so that Zambians will understand? Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And that question was really very, very important. Let me try and see if I can characterize the differences between then and now. Firstly, Madam Speaker, the borrowing that took place in 2011 to 2021 was irresponsible borrowing. Irresponsible borrowing in the sense that the debt was allowed to grow too quickly compared to the amount of money that was being made. Madam Speaker, in spite of the huge amount of money that was borrowed between 2011 and 2021, we had millions of young Zambians left out there not attending school. Today, those millions of Zambians who were left behind are now back in school. Madam, at that time, most classrooms in this country, they were in terrible condition. Today, most of us have decent classrooms. There were no desks in classrooms.